Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. Well, we've all seen it. Maybe we've even felt it. Choking, pressure, blowing up. And last week at the TPC Championship at Sawgrass, we had a mano-a-mano battle with Tiger Woods and Sergio Garcia. Sergio's not happy because Tiger took his club out of his bag and made noise, and that disturbed Sergio. And for those who like a good choke, TPC had it.
Yeah, was it the 17th hole?
17th hole.
Well, Sergio, if he parred the hole, then he would have been even with Woods, who was ahead of him.
Yeah, one hole ahead.
One group ahead of him.
Right.
And he said that hole's been great to him in the past. He had a big birdie there last year. So he said he thought he had the right club. He came up short, put it in the water. But the problem there is he not only put that ball in the water, he put the next ball in the water.
Yeah, he went Kevin Costner in Tin Cup and hit two in a row in the water. I don't know how many Costner hit.
But then on the 18th, he put one in the water.
Right, and then he hit a second shot in the water, I think, on 18. So he finished with a quadruple and double bogey, dropped 6 strokes in the last 2 holes. And, it was, Garcia's outstanding player, but he's not always a compelling figure because he tends to whine.
He doesn't come through in in the Ryder Cup he comes through.
Right.
That's why I don't like him. I mean, he puts on a show at the Ryder Cup, and a lot of the American players don't like him. He's the one player they don't like. But he's always in contention till the last day, and he's going to fall apart. It seems like that in every big tournament that happens to him.
Well, and I even talked to people the day before in the hospital and said, I can't wait for tomorrow to see him choke at the end. And it was just odd. But Tiger Woods, he won his 100th PGA event, he won his 200th PGA event, and he's won his 300th PGA Tour event en route to his 78th Tour Championship. I think he's 4 behind Sam Snead.
82 is Snead.
And he hasn't won a major in 5 years. And, we'll see how he does at the U.S. Open. But they said he used a lot of irons because the Open is at Marion, Ohio this year, and the course has got narrow fairways and brutal rough, so a lot of people are probably going to have to go to the shorter clubs to keep the ball in play.
He's won 4 tournaments this year, and they say it's earlier than he's ever done it,
Right.
even in his heyday. But what's amazing to me, Ron, is how many fans still root for him. I even found myself rooting for him. I mean, Mickelson's my favorite.
Well, he's a compelling figure.
But with everything he's done, I mean,
well, he's
not the person we all thought he was.
Right, he's not a nice person, but he's a terrific golfer. And they say he's not really well liked on tour because he just his attitude is, I'm here to win. I'm not here to be your buddy. And you can't really argue with that. Now, if you look at his shot on 18, I don't really think it went where he wanted to go because he played it way left.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of margin for error. Could have easily put it in the water, and I'm sure if you asked him, he'd say, no, I hit it right where I wanted to.
I would have loved to see overtime, though, extra holes. I mean, if Garcia, if he just parred that 17th and the 18th, it would have went into sudden death, and that would have been a lot of fun to watch.
Well, speaking of problems, we can talk about the Red Sox bullpen, and I think I'll start with Daniel Bard. Bard's been down to Portland, and he has been a total abomination at Portland. Last night in one inning, he had 5 walks and 2 wild pitches. He's had 13 walks in the last 3 2/3 innings. And obviously, he's deeply afflicted with so-called Steve Blass disease, where people just can't throw the ball where they want it. There's been a number of players. Steve Sachs had it for a while. Mackie Sasser on the Mets, the catcher. Chuck Knobloch when he was playing second for the Yankees. And it's just an odd thing where a player who's been a good player just can't throw the ball.
What would you do if you were his general manager? How would you handle it?
Well, I'd say, first of all, you're not going to do any pitching at all right now. I'm just going to have you play catch. Go in the outfield, play catch. And then also when I do some sports psychology, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're having him with a psychologist and say, we're not even going to think about pitching. We're just going to try to get you back to throwing a baseball naturally and comfortably.
That's what I used to do with my teams, especially at Babe Ruth. Before when we warmed up, what I hate is you see kids in Babe Ruth warming up, the coaches aren't even watching them, and they're tossing the ball here, they're throwing pop-ups. They're not warming up properly. What we used to do after we got loose, I told you that drill.
Yeah.
You hit the glove 3 times, and then you
Right.
step back. I mean, that's the drill they should do with him. Put him at shortstop. Put him at shortstop and let him throw the ball to first baseman. Try to hit the glove.
Sure.
You know, take a month doing that. I mean, why keep going like this?
Right, just throwing him out there and watching him fail, that's not really going to help him. You have to really get him out of the competitive situation, just get him back to feeling comfortable that he can just throw the ball.
And the people that are blaming the Red Sox for letting him start last year, I mean, give me a break. He's a pro pitcher.
He wanted to start because there's big money in starting and not so much money in being a middle reliever or a setup guy. Now, it's not to say that guys like Uehara is making $4.5 million or whatever. You can't make a lot of money, but if somebody says you could be a starter and make $10 million, well, he said, why not? I could do that.
But I remember last year, when was it, 2 years ago, watching him pitch. He threw that 98-mile-an-hour fastball, got up to 100 once in a while, and then he threw that slider off of the fastball, and I say, no one's ever going to hit this guy. In another couple of years, he's going to be amazing. And look what happened. But I got to believe he's going to straighten out.
Well, right. I mean, last year, I didn't feel badly for him because I felt that he was, partly at fault because he wanted to do something that was really not well suited to his skill set, and he lost velocity off his fastball. This year, I just feel bad for him because he's really struggling.
Yeah, he has to be thinking too much. I mean, that's when stuff like that happens. Every pitch he must be thinking about instead of just going out there and throwing. But again, like you said, I would just let him play catch for about a month.
We're having all kinds of odd pitching injuries that I've never heard of. Biceps injuries for Lackey. Price goes out with a forearm strain or something last night. Bailey's been on the DL for triceps, I think. And just, I don't know what's going on. Usually you see the same sort of injuries over a period of time. You get, rotator cuff injuries. You get Tommy John surgery where you get medial collateral ligament in the elbow. But when you start seeing new injuries, it makes me think there's some kind of, I'm not saying they're taking PEDs, but there's some kind of influence. There's something that they're training with, weights or some new technique that's not agreeing with them.
Like you said, maybe they are taking something and then they're off of it, and it's,
who knows?
It's doing a number in their body.
I mean, Hanrahan, it sounds like he might have been partially damaged goods anyway from Pittsburgh, and he's out for the season. Going to have elbow surgery if he didn't already have it. And, Bailey has been hurt more than he's been well since he's been on the Red Sox.
Well, the problem you have there, too, is your bullpen. It could be great at the beginning of the year, but if you use them too much, those arms start getting a little tired, and those pitchers trying to throw 95-mile-an-hour fastballs, that's when they strain their arms.
Well, we have two players. First, they're both outfielders. One player has an OPS of .683, meaning his on-base percentage plus slugging percentage, in 188 at-bats. He's scored 23 runs, had I think 14 runs batted in, and had 1 home run. The other player has had 121 plate appearances, so he's had 50% less. He's scored 21 runs, 2 less than Ellsbury. He's hit 6 home runs. He's had 24 runs batted in, 11 more than Ellsbury, and his OPS is .883, 200 points higher than Ellsbury. So he's been a lot more productive in every area than Ellsbury. And of course, he's getting minimum wage, Daniel Nava. Yeah. Ellsbury's getting $10 million to do nothing. Ellsbury, to me, is a below average major league center fielder right now.
It's going to be interesting to see what he does at the end of the year. If they can get him the money they think they're going to get him. He may sign with the Red Sox again.
Well, right now, there's no way that anybody would sign him to a long-term big money contract because he's not worth it.
Well, it's still early in the year. There's plenty of time to go. If he gets hit,
well, he played 40 games, and so far, he's on pace to hit 4 homers and 52 RBIs.
Look at Pedroia. He's in 340, and he still hasn't gotten going yet. I mean,
no, I know.
It's amazing. He said he's still not real comfortable, but he gets his hits. He's going with the pitch a lot more, so he's getting those little blue singles to right field.
After watching so much football and basketball, I'm really finding it tedious to watch baseball. Nothing happens during the game.
Well, I still enjoy it. I still enjoy baseball. I mean, I love when the Yankees are on. I like this lineup they have now because none of them are big, except for Cano. You know, I mean, no big names, and they're coming through with
Right.
big hits. But that's what goes back to what I was telling you about last year. A lot of the Yankee players are overrated.
Well, the big news last week were two major umpiring errors, and they're talking about expanding instant replay, and they're not talking about it as maybe they're going to expand instant replay. They are going to expand instant replay and probably take it more like the NHL to a central reviewing area where they have people, that's all they do is they review controversial plays. Because first there was a home run that was clearly a home run that they didn't reverse, and then I can't remember which team brought in a pitcher, and when the rule is when you bring in a new pitcher, he has to face one batter, and the umpires didn't know the rule.
Well, how about the coach didn't even know the rule? The coach of the team that brought in the pitcher, he didn't even know the rule.
I thought everybody knew the rule.
Yeah, I mean, we've known that back to Little League. You knew that years ago. I mean, you have to pitch to one batter, at least one batter. It's not one pitch, it's a batter.
But anyway, last night there was a play in the Red Sox game that the right fielder, I can't remember his name, was going after a fly, and he trapped it. But I think if he'd held up his glove, because his body was really encircling the ball, he might have been able to get the call. He didn't really make an effort to steal the call, but he really could have. And Tampa, obviously, they're already off to a little bit of a slow start, and now losing Price, they're in trouble.
Well, they're going now. I mean, they've been in a pretty good stretch right now, Tampa. They're starting to hit better. They're winning a lot more games. I think they were only 4.5 behind the Yankees. I think they still are about 4.5 because the Yankees lost the last game.
Yeah, the Red Sox and the Orioles are 2 behind. Somehow the Orioles keep winning.
But you know what I feel the biggest problem in baseball is? I mean, just look at every game you watch, that outside corner. It's the biggest problem. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, apparently they have technology that they're exploring as far as mechanically calling balls and strikes like tennis, like you talked about. I just can't see that the game will be so disrupted by that.
Yeah, and you don't know if it would be right all the time because of the angles. But that outside corner, I mean, if they got that down pat, pitchers wouldn't be complaining. Batters are swinging at pitches 3 inches outside because the umpires are calling them strikes. So batters are going after them. I saw Pedroia the other night reach for one because the umpire had just called, 2 pitches before that, called a strike on a pitch that was like about 2 inches outside.
Well, as for the Red Sox, they're 23-17. Lester and Buchholz are 12-0. That means everybody else is 9-17, and Lester and Buchholz are not going to go, 25-0.
Yeah, Buchholz has had more than Lester. Buchholz has really had a tremendous season. Lester should have a couple of losses, but they've come through at the end of the games to bail him out. But he's pitching real good. I mean,
Yeah, he's pitching a lot better off his fastball. Apparently they're not putting his fastball in play to the extent that they were last year. Now, whether that's Farrell's influence or, obviously the guy they got rid of, Josh Beckett, is doing terrible. He hasn't won a game yet in Los Angeles.
What's going on with the guy you love, Middlebrooks, though? It's amazing. I thought he was going to be a big hitter for them for years to come. I still think he will.
I think he's going to be okay, but he's really not making good contact. It seems that he really struggles with a lot of inside pitches right now. Hit a home run last night off an outside pitch, but I don't know if he's got to open his stance up more or what exactly he has to do, but I think he'll get it together. I don't like their catching situation very much. I've never been a big Saltalamacchia fan, and Napoli's done okay. Stephen Drew he's really hit pretty well lately. His OPS is up around 760 right now, and there's just not enough guys that are going to be consistent day in, day out. The 2 consistent guys are Ortiz and Pedroia, and Ortiz said he'd been hurt, so who knows.
Yeah, but Middlebrooks and Ellsbury are going to be the key to that team. I mean, if they hit the way we feel they can hit, I think Middlebrooks, like you said, is going to eventually hit. And he hits with power, gets doubles, home runs. And if Ellsbury starts hitting, gets into a class like Pedroia, I mean, they could with the pitching they have, well, especially the top 2 pitches. But again, if I'm a Red Sox fans have to be worrying about their bullpen because their bullpen's hurting, and the more they pitch those guys, the worse they're going to get. They just you get too tired when you pitch too much.
I think I'm not hearing Red Sox fans very upset because I think the expectations were so low that even when they got off to a good start, we said 2 weeks ago, the sample size is not that big. So now they've played more games. You know, I really feel they're more like a 500 team, a little bit below that, because I'm just not that wild about their offense.
Yeah, and the thing that's really changed for me is their bullpen. Their bullpen, to me, is going to struggle because of the injuries, and they're pitching them so much. Once you get by Lester and Buchholz, I mean, you're using your bullpen big time with the other pitches. And even, you know, Lester throws a lot of pitches. And Buchholz, another guy, you got to watch out for his arm. If he starts throwing a lot of pitches, and if you want him to pitch 7, 8 innings, sometimes go 9, I think he went 9 one game. I mean, you got to watch out for his arm. So who knows? The injuries is a big
Yeah,
factor.
they seem to be trying to throw Mortensen out there all the time. I mean, they haven't needed a closer for a week because none of the games have been close.
Now, Mortensen got hit big time against Toronto. Now,
Yeah.
you don't know with the starters if they pitch too many innings. So, you know, you got to watch your pitching staff.
Right. The guys, they're trying to use Uehara and Tozawa in, you know, more pressure situations. Miller, I never really feel, I wouldn't want to hit against Miller because he doesn't know where the ball's going.
But they should use him more.
Yeah, Miller's good. He throws very hard, and he's kind of wild, so you can't really dig in against him. If he hit you, it wouldn't be because he was throwing at you. He just missed.
And Tozawa, isn't he 38? Or 30? How old is he?
No, he's only 26, I think.
Who's the other guy?
Uehara's old.
Uehara's 38.
Yeah. So, I mean, he gets people out with the slop that he throws up there. So I give him credit. He's tricky.
You got to watch out. I'm just saying, the Yankees, they have Robinson and how about Rivera? I mean, and the young guys. They have a lot of young guys in their bullpen that are pitching real good.
Rivera could still pitch for a couple more years if he wanted to, but, you know, he's going to go out still at his high. Off the bench, you know, Gomes has really been not doing anything so far. Maybe it's more the role he's in. It's tough to come in and not play every day, and yet who's he going to play in front of? He's not going to play in front of either Victorino or Nava.
Yeah, he's a good teammate though, so he'll keep quiet and.
Well, no, he's a guy who grew up throwing rocks at motorcycles, and he's like David Wells, you know, love child of some motorcycle gang or trailer park.
They love him though, I'll tell you.
No, I know. I'm happy the guy, you know, he's probably made more money than he's ever seen in his life. I think it's fantastic.
And they get a big hit. He's the first one out of the dugout, you know, a big hit at the end of the game. So it's great to have a teammate like him.
It's, you know, we're not hearing a lot of dissent or problems in the clubhouse. It's not a team that you have to dislike because there's a lot of bad guys, so it makes it a little more tolerable.
Plus they have a manager they like.
It's true.
That's the key.
Well, we'll be right back after this.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court.
Hello, my name is Anthony Taylor, founder of Visionary Basketball Group, VBG. It's a year-round basketball player development organization ranging from preschool to college and professional level, girls and boys. We cater to all skill levels, starting from beginner, intermediate, and advanced. One of the biggest things that we have is our coaching staff, who do a phenomenal job at mentoring the players on a regular basis with the training, the teaching, and the knowledge. We operate 7 days a week. We offer over 30 sessions, and we're considered one of the top comprehensive basketball player development organizations in New England. And another key aspect that we do is that we have kids coming from all different areas, urban, suburban communities, uniting as one. And that's what makes VBG a phenomenal organization that helps kids gain confidence, leadership, discipline, self-esteem. And if you have a chance, come down and see what we do at Visionary Basketball Group.
VBG player athletes are rising stars in elementary, middle school, high school, and college basketball. We apply the same approach to training with every participant at VBG and produce players who are prepared for maximum performance. Visionary Basketball not only provides programs for individuals, we can also come to your town, school, or any institution to customize a structured program for your team or basketball organization. For more information, please log on to our website, www.visionarybasketball.com, or drop into our Athletic Performance Center at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. VBG, complete your vision.
Welcome back. Tonight we have Lou, the hockey Krishna, here to help us talk intelligently about hockey, because only Ralph and Lou can say anything intelligent about hockey. The Bruins open up against the bad boys from Madison Square Garden tonight, but it's a home game. Why not go up 1-0?
Wouldn't be a bad thing. I can tell you Lundqvist is not going to give fat rebounds out the middle. But you know what? First of all, how about the fact that there even is a tonight? They're not making tea times, these Bruins. Like everybody thought sometime around 11 minutes left in the game, fans were getting ready to, the hell, I was getting ready to go take a shower.
How do they score 4 goals in 16 minutes when they can't score in other games where they score 1 goal, 2 goals?
Too pretty with the puck, I think, because I'll tell you, I personally...
What was the difference?
I'll tell you what, they put bodies in front of the net. It was all of a sudden, okay, Lucic got a good goal. That was a working man's goal. Get in there, dig it out, put it in. That's great. But then, you think about it, 2 of the bigger guys on the team. I mean, Chara's like the biggest guy on the planet. So the tying goal, he was right there in the crease. You got to screen the goalie.
Well, let me ask you, when they won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago, I remember they got a huge goal in one big game with Chara in front of the net. I remember that. Chara, everybody was talking about, why doesn't he go in front? He's a defenseman, number 1. But when you're thinking of power play, maybe they'll set him up down. Let him play a wing or center in a power play.
Well, they tried that They did try that 2 years ago when they were really, if you remember, their power play was anemic at best. It was really non-existent. And they decided, all right, let's, instead of putting Chara at the point, let's put him up and screen the net. It made sense. But then you said, the naysayers then say, oh, you can't do that because you're taking his shot away. So, you can't please anybody unless you're getting results. But in this case, I mean, there was nobody getting in front of that net. He was kicking rebounds out, and they were going to Toronto players. And the way they were playing, they constantly had 2-3 guys back. They really, I don't want to take anything away from the goalie, because the kid played a really good series. The Bruins had a hard time scoring on him, obviously.
But the Bruins don't know where to put the puck.
But they put
it right on his pads.
They did not put it where they could to score. They hit him in the middle of the logo probably 37 times.
You know what it is, Lou? They have so much pressure on him. Sagan, I mean, people are calling him out big time. When Sagan gets the puck, he has no clue where it's going. He's so nervous. He's firing the puck one over the glass.
Yeah, I know.
From in front of the net.
Yeah.
But you know what I see? Most of his shots, they're coming right into his pad, the goalie. You don't see any trying to go to the corner or low.
Yeah, trying too hard, I thought. I think the pressure got to them. And, it's Boston. It's a very tough town, as Rick Pitino pointed out once. I think the players might say they don't listen to the media. I think they do listen to the media. I think they listen to the fans. I think they hear everything. And I think that, there was a lot of talk about, Claude Julien could be gone if they lose that series, which I think is a bunch of crap. If they ever did that,
I would say if they had lost, he should be gone. Here's a reason, right? They're giving Lucic $6 million. Sagan's making pretty good money. He's supposed to be a lot better than he is. There's so many players not playing up to their potential. My thinking is, and I'm not an expert, is he putting too much pressure on him to play defense and get back and back check and where you saw when they scored all those goals at the end of the game, they were pressuring the goalie. They were up close to the net. They weren't thinking about defense. They knew they had to score, and they looked like a different team. I'm worrying if they're too worried that he's going to sit him on the bench. If they don't get back right away. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup by playing that way.
It's a time and a place, though. You got to look at it. There's 2 schools of thought. You could say they're scoring just as much now. The only difference is you don't have Tim Thomas to shut down the other team. We have Rask, who's playing good. He's playing adequately, as opposed to Thomas just completely stood on his head that year. From game 1 to the end of the year, Thomas was outstanding, one of the best seasons a goalie's ever had in the history of the NHL. Now you got Rask. You put him with a similar style team, power play, short-circuiting. They're not scoring a lot of goals, and they're making the other team's defense and goalie look better, like they did, if you think back to a couple of years ago. I'd like to remember with hindsight that we just steamrolled the whole league and won the cup. But then again, we went 7 games how many times in that series? We were the cardiac kids then. And you know what? It's kind of going to be that way this year. Right? And as the game showed you, and they got to do the little things. To me, they don't block shots. And one of the worst things to me, the most, If you're going to play defense, you have to clear your own crease. And how many times did you see Rask sliding because he couldn't see, and his momentum carried him out of the play, and then they got an easy goal? I could count 5 times, and you just can't have that. I mean, I'm not saying that the goalie needs to be Patrick Roy and he's going to start cross-checking people, and I'm not saying that you have to go for people's Achilles and start hacking them. You got to clear the front of the net, though, because you can't have Rask not seeing the shooters. And
Well, you have to give the Toronto fans credit. They were appropriately enthusiastic, and you know, when the events turned against them, they showed class.
Well, it was classic to me. There were 10,000 fans in the street, and it was great. They were partying just like Vancouver. The only difference between Toronto fans and Vancouver fans is Toronto fans wept in the street, whereas Vancouver, unfortunately, burned down the city. So,
Well, you know what's funny about the Toronto fans? They're just standing there and they're just looking straight ahead. They're not doing anything. It's unbelievable. They were probably in shock when the Bruins scored that 4th goal to tie it up.
yeah, the original 6 was a long time ago. I mean, what they haven't, the last time they won a cup, I think Jesus was a teenager. So
Well, how
I
many
mean,
times do you see people come back from two goal deficits pulling the goalie? I mean, obviously it happens occasionally, but I've never seen it before.
Oh, that was something else. And then the way they won it in overtime. I mean, you know, I couldn't get to sleep after that.
How about that
I
pass by the defenseman right to Bergeron?
Yeah, that was great. You know, they
Passed it right to him.
they played it. You know, they played. He got it, and it was like,
But you know what gets me though when I watch hockey, especially the Bruins? To me, when they score a goal, I mean, they work hard. I mean, the skating was unbelievable in the first 2 periods. I mean, they were flying up and down. You know, it was like Olympic hockey, you know, playoff hockey, Olympic
Yeah.
hockey. But the thing that gets me about their offense, it's you look at them and you say, there's no strategy there. I mean, I watch him move the puck. I says, where are they running? I mean, like in basketball, you can run a play. You know, football, you run plays. In hockey, it's mostly you're skating up, you're passing the puck off the board, you're hustling down there. You're making half your passes are blind passes.
in a lot of instances, yeah. You know, though, there's some things, though,
Where's the
fundamentally.
strategy? Tell everybody what a strategy
Fundamentally,
is.
though, when you see, you know, I mean, I'll give it to you, the X's and O's for your average hockey watcher that doesn't maybe know a thing about it. And it's very simple. If the puck goes into the corner, you don't want 2 guys with the same color uniform going after it. And I saw that. I saw Sagan lost a couple of times when he very clearly, you know, someone goes into the corner, circle back, get out in front of the net. That's what your job is in that instance right there, because 2 guys with the puck right there, you're just begging for that puck to come out and go tick-tack, and next thing you know, it's a 2-on-1 the other way. Your job, you got to get out in front of the net, whether you're going to block, whether you're going to take a pass, whatever you're going to do. Cycle. You'll see the guys, you know, doing their figure 8 or whatever they're going to do, wherever they're supposed to be. But there were too many guys out of position during those 2 games. They lost 2-1. And it was like, they kind of looked like the Keystone Cops sometime. And you wondered, like, to your point, where is the strategy?
I'm talking about offense. Where's the
Yeah, you're
strategy
not
offense?
getting it. You're not getting that crisp passing where you see a guy go to the net. It's like I always say, when all else fails, go to the net. Good things can happen because you can screen the goalie, you can get a rebound. I mean, how many times have you just seen it? A guy's got his stick down on the ice. Keep your stick down on the ice, go to the net, get ready to take a pass, get ready for a rebound, or get ready to take somebody out and knock them down. You know, the thing about offense, it's not always just having the puck. It's what you do sometimes when you don't have the puck. And, you know, I almost thought that they got away from a lot of fundamentals. I think Julian, if he wasn't already thin on top, he would have been after that series.
Well, I think the argument is, number one, the Rangers have a better goalie. Number 2, the Bruins are inexperienced on defense. And 3, maybe the Rangers have a little bit of a coaching edge if that makes a difference.
Tortorella's crafty.
Well, he's all defense, isn't he?
He will put 5 people back in the zone. He doesn't care. He wants to frustrate you because he wants you to come out of your game plan, if they have one. He wants them to come out of that, and he wants to create a 2-on-1
Well,
the
the
other
Bruins
way.
love playing that way. But the thing I see, compared to 2 years ago, but remember 2 years ago, when they first round, they weren't sharp against Montreal, and they got better and better. Hopefully that's what's going to happen here. But you'll know early in this series because I'm worried that they don't have it this year. But no big difference I see. 2 years ago, they were great passing the puck in their end, getting it out, making those quick passes to the cutters. Now you very rarely see that.
Yeah, they
You
were.
know, the passing's terrible right now.
They were really strong on defense, not only in playing, obvious defensive responsibilities, but getting the puck up the ice. They were really good with that. And now you got all these guys. I mean, who do they have again? Who's Krug? And then is it Botkowski?
Yeah.
Zeke Bratkowski? Is it Steve Botkowski? I'm thinking of the Atlanta Falcons, the cornerback. I don't even know sometimes.
Maybe Hamilton will,
This will put some
change
hair.
everybody's
This is
mind.
going to put hair on that
He
kid's
may get better
toes.
and better. He had a good game last game.
Yeah.
Well,
So
when the rubber meets the road, who do we pick? I will take the Rangers in 6.
I would have to say that if you want me to step out of my Bruins allegiance, I would say that's probably right. However, after seeing what I just saw, I just don't. I'm just going to fall back on the never say never. I think that you can say hi to the champion, don't poke the bear, all that other cliches that you want to pull out. The fact is, they have a lot of guys on this team that know how to win. They have a lot of guys who know how to get it done, and they have done it. And the Bruins have some pretty good coaches that you don't hear about. Doug Jarvis is incredible. You remember him from the
young guy?
Canadians, and Doug Jarvis was a Canadian. Back when we hated them. And not that we don't anymore, but they have a good coaching staff. They have a good core of players, and I just would not be surprised if anything happens.
well, I'm going to remain a homer. I'm hoping that I'm thinking wrong, and I'll say the Bruins in 7. And if they do it in 7, who knows? You don't know if they win this series. They may take off. They'll have probably Pittsburgh next, but that's not guaranteed either.
Well, The
Playoff hockey.
thing that people like about playoff hockey is when you see wide open skating offensive hockey, and we're probably not going to see that playing the Rangers.
Well, one thing, though, to add to this, though, is you're going to have a couple of plot horses here. They're plotting along with the Rangers and the Bruins. You might see 7 2-1, 1-0 games. Out west, the Chicago Blackhawks are blindingly fast. They pass like there's no tomorrow. They basically play video game hockey. And sometimes when you don't see that through the course of the year, I wouldn't be surprised, whoever the representation is from
LA.
We're going to be the Bruins or the Rangers or even the Penguins. I don't think they know what they're getting into when they go and play one of those teams.
Well, it's going to be LA, I think, because they're so physical. I think they'll slow down Chicago. I think LA will
they-
beat San Jose.
And they have goaltending, too. That's the.
Has Yager, on balance, really added much to the Bruins, or is he just kind of a big guy who likes to shield people away from the puck?
I don't think they're using him right. I don't think they have used him right since day one. He's a guy, he's got phenomenal puck handling skills. This guy, at his age, we've all seen older players. Wayne Gretzky's last couple of years, he was still good with the puck. But come on, he was a shadow of himself. You can start naming all of them. Keep going. This guy, though, Yager, you look at him and you say, wow, to see him with the way he can still handle the puck and still move, you got to get him out there, though. I think on a line with someone, you want Krejci getting them the puck.
Well, he's with Bergeron and Marchand.
Bergeron, I think, is the
Sagan
best
back
guy
to the
there.
third line.
But it's just where he is on the ice sometimes. I don't think he's where he should be on the ice. I understand sometimes you got to chase a puck down. You're going to end up in the corner. But he's not effective there. To me, you definitely want him in the slot. You want him to take something from, Bergeron will get him a good pass. I hope it happens because he just hasn't had much luck. But when you've seen him with the puck, you say, wow, that guy still has it,
This may work because it'll give Sagan a chance to handle the puck more, hopefully. But he's got to get going. I mean, come on, he's in the center ice. He's got one guy there. He doesn't even try to go by them anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to get that confidence.
Well, what did he get, 1 point in the series?
Well, the big one.
Yeah.
He did a good job when he got that.
His only thing right now is that I can see if he gets a breakaway, on a breakaway, open ice skating, he's got tremendous puck handling skills, and I can see him wristing one in. But you're not going to get that against the Rangers.
They don't have a.
They need him to muck it up in the corner. They need him to get rebounds. They need him to do everything that every player, I think, blocking shots, screening the goalie, and playing physical. Everybody has to do
Well,
They
he
that.
need to
doesn't
play
look-
like Ryder.
Well, he doesn't look like a physically strong player. I mean, people seem to be able to push him off the puck, pretty easily.
He goes into the corners at times in battles, but There's just something wrong there.
Inconsistent, though.
I said it last year when we talked about it. You know, him. You know, and I said it this year. I said the only way they're going to make it is if he becomes a superstar. And he hasn't, but, you know, they're still in the second round right now. But, I mean, he should be better than he is.
Well, they're fortunate to be, you know, this advanced into the playoffs, and anything can happen. It's the playoffs.
But I think, you know, I picked the Bruins, but that's where I want them to win it. But
The heart picks the Bruins, but common sense has to say New York is going to be a lot tougher than Toronto. Now, New York was inconsistent at times, but Lundqvist is a hell of a goalie, if not the best in the league. So,
if the Bruins win this series, watch out.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for Lou for joining us and enlightening us as to the fine points of the game. We'll be right back.
At Athletic Evolution, it starts with a purpose and ends with your success. Visit our website or drop into our training facility at 78B Olympia Avenue, Woburn, Mass. Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Welcome back. It's basketball season, our favorite time of year, the NBA playoffs, and just basketball talk in general. Danny Ainge announced that Doc Rivers will be back, one of the most sought-after coaches in the NBA, and that's got to be a good thing for the Celtics. They have a monumental rebuild to do. And some interesting action in the NBA. I enjoy watching NBA playoff basketball, but I've seen some bad situations. For example, Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant's one of the best players in the league, but not a good idea for Durant to be the point guard.
How's Perkins doing? I mean, everybody blasted Ainge for training Perkins. And look at him now, 2 points. I think the last 2 games, 2 points, 3 rebounds, played 17 minutes. I mean, he's just not effective against some of these players. Are too quick for him nowadays.
Well, it's really about putting players in a position to succeed, getting people to do what they're really good at. And it's not always doing a lot of things, but you better do the things you do really well. You know, for example, Chicago last night, boy, they were undermanned. They had no Deng, they had no Derrick Rose. You know, and they still hung in there pretty well against Miami. I really like the way Miami plays man-to-man defense. I shouldn't call it man-to-man defense because it's really more like an extended 1-2-2 zone where they like to trap out on the wings high, and then they zone too low with the forward and center on the blocks, and the other guard or forward plays in the middle. But they really keep people away from the basket with that.
Yeah, it'll be fun watching them play Indiana. You know, I want to see that.
Big and physical.
They're big, and they have some players that play well away from the basket. Yeah, what people don't realize is it's not Miami's offense that wins games for them. It's like you said, their defense. Their defense is very good. But I think Indiana will give them some problems. Look what Chicago did. Miami does not like to play against Chicago. They're too physical, and Chicago doesn't back down from them.
Yeah, a guy I really like on Chicago is Noah. He's not the most talented guy, but he's very physical, and he's got a huge motor. He never quits.
And he likes going up against the Garnett's,
Yeah.
LeBron James. He doesn't back down from them.
No, he plays really hard all the time. Boozer, I thought, kind of looked a little wilty to me at the end. There was one shot, he was wide open near the elbow, and he just turned it down, and then he had to take it later, and he would have been better off to take the earlier shot.
But no, it's a shame. I mean, if they had everybody, Chicago, that would be an unbelievable series.
Thibodeau's a great coach.
He's
That's one
unreal.
thing. And then the trendy pick right now seems to be Memphis, who has, some pretty good players, including former Celtic Tony Allen, who's done a really good job defensively. Now, one thing that the Heat has to worry about is Wade is hurt. He's getting his knee drained all the time. He had it retaped during the game last night. So if they have another hard series, he may not even be available by the time they get to the finals.
Yeah, and Allen didn't play many minutes last night. You know, he didn't have a good. So I don't know if he's getting tired now, but he hasn't played that many minutes all season. So you would think he wouldn't get tired. Where LeBron James and Wade are doing all the work.
I think we almost had to put sunglasses on last night to see Craig Sager's jacket. He had this plaid, horrible Easter egg colored jacket.
He does it on purpose, you know, so people talk about him.
He does. I know that. But you know, it was funny. They were talking about Zach Randolph, and he always, you know, leans to the middle or spins back and goes left. And Barkley says, "You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to play in the NBA, but you can't let Zach Randolph go left every time."
But Gasol's good too.
Gasol's a smart player. You know, again, the European players play fundamentally sound basketball. You know, so
They may make the finals.
They might.
Because I think they'll beat San Antonio. I mean, they get older players too, you know.
Well, the San Francisco's Golden State, whoever they are, been kind of letting Duncan take the outside shot, and he's not making it.
And they have some young players, but they're not playing consistent ball. Memphis is younger. Memphis plays good D. They're strong down low. They're going to be tough to beat. I think they're going to go.
Yeah, they're
it
fun.
could be them in Miami.
They're fun to watch.
That'll be a battle.
That could be a good series.
You'll have Allen covering LeBron James, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think so. You know, one thing that comes up is what's the proper approach for offensive rebounding? And for example, the Celtics' big thing is they want to get back. They want to stop transition baskets. And you know, I guess I can understand that when they had a lot of older players, and they were vulnerable. And some of the teams in the league that they're major competitors, the Knicks, of course, and the Heat, you know, can score in transition. But other teams take a very different approach. Now, I like Tom Izzo's approach at Michigan State. They've been one of the top teams in college for years. And Izzo to train his players to rebound, he puts shoulder pads and helmets on them. So you have rebounding practice in football gear. So Michigan State has been one of the top offensive rebounding teams in college, and they got guys who really get after it.
You know, it's funny. Like I don't know if people know that Dr. Sen sends me these little messages every once in a while about defense and all that. And today he sent me about rebounding, getting back on defense, which we talk about.
Right.
It's funny that all these books we read, basically it's what we've been coaching with, you know, little turns in it. But I forget the person who wrote this article, but he talks about getting back as quick as you can.
Yeah, I think this was.
But not pressuring the rebounder, which we teach at times. You know, if you get a rebounder who's not really good, a big guy who can't, under pressure, has trouble getting that out of the pass, pressure him, let the other guys get back quickly. But he talks about don't pressure it, get back as quick as you can.
Right, that was Dick Bennett. Dick Bennett used to coach at Wisconsin Green Bay, and then he coached at the University of Wisconsin. Very successful coach. I read his book. The book is called Season with Dick Bennett. And he's got some very strong ideas, but he's got excellent ideas defensively, and his teams always are one of the top defensive teams. The big thing with him is pressure on the ball, but not only pressure on the ball, but pressure on the ball side on those players, because he says the weak side players aren't going to hurt you that much.
Yeah, and what I liked what he said is, like, our team this year was a great half-court defensive team. When we were back on defense, we were tough to score on, no matter who we went up against. And it reminded me of the way we coached our girls. You know, you get back on defense, you play everybody straight up, you pressure the ball, don't let the ball get into the lane, and let them, dribble the ball to the corner. But, reading it, like a lot of Krzyzewski's defensive concepts, I mean, it's exactly what we've been talking about with the girls.
Well, there was really only one player we saw all season that we really had trouble handling, the girl from Haverhill, Orlando, or whatever. I mean, the girl was the best 8th grade player I've ever seen. And, you don't see 8th grade players taking step-back jumpers like Paul Pierce and stuff like that.
We saw some amazing players. How about that girl from Ipswich that played for VBC?
Oh, yeah, very, very strong
I mean, her
player.
and that girl from Haverhill. Imagine those two players playing on the same team. I mean, those are great. Those are two girls in the 8th grade that could be playing on any varsity team, any varsity team in the state.
Right, and it's kind of interesting. I think that somebody said that, did Central Catholic win the
Yeah.
Division
They
I?
ended up
I
winning
think
it.
they have 5 girls from New Hampshire on the team. So at what point do you start winning with players from other states? What happens if you get players from Bolivia or Argentina who come up to your high school because you're such a basketball force.
Why? I mean, you want to play against teams like that. That's probably why there's not many complaints from the Merrimack Valley League. You want to play that type of talent. I mean, I would want to play them if I was a coach. You always want to play the best teams, and you want to take it to them.
Well, that's how you measure how good you are. You think you're a pretty good team. When Melrose played Winnicott a few years ago, Winnicott won 7 state championships in New Hampshire. The coach had, I think, 9 high school All-Americans and had way over 20 players who'd played Division I basketball. I mean, best high school teams I ever saw by a lot. And tremendously well-coached team. At the end of each practice, each player had to hit 2 free throws consecutively before they could leave. So that, imagine that. So 1 through 10 to 12, however many players they had, everybody's got to finish with 2 free throws. They ran the lanes exquisitely. They had a terrific motion offense. And, they played the game right. When they would get ahead, they didn't just try to blow people out even more. They'd slow the game down, let you kind of hang around a little.
But the advantage he had is in New Hampshire, you can coach a team all year round.
This is true. And
he coached them that summer.
Right. His name is Ed Beatty, and he made no bones about it that he could coach all year round, and he said that was a huge advantage.
Yeah, when we played them, we were playing good. We had Colleen, Hannah, and Laura,
Yeah.
and I think Sienna. We had a lot of good talent.
No, we had good, but they had apparently 3 players who were Division I or II on that team.
The 2 big girls, the 2 blondes,
Right.
and their point guard went to BC.
Point guard went to BC, and she hasn't had a big career,
No.
but she does get to play. So it's good to see. It's really good to see teams that are extremely well coached. And when I think of well coached, it's the players come in, they look sharp, they drill sharp, they're thinking basketball, they're organized. I was reading something the other day. It said, don't have your players stretch on the floor before the game. It said because that's leaving wet spots on the floor. That's kind of.
And you're losing your warm up. They should be stretching before they come out.
Right, and the newer emphasis is on light running before the games and what are called dynamic stretching. So this business where you're doing hurdler stretches and things like that before the game, that's all old school. Nobody does that anymore, and that really shouldn't be part of the contemporary warm-up. You run to raise your body temperature 1 to 2 degrees, loosen up the muscles, and then you extend that warm-up from the legs to other parts of the body because you're using all parts of the body playing basketball.
But what's funny though, Ron, when we talk about conditioning, I mean, where we coach our girls and we want to play up-tempo, problem we had before our season started, 2 of our guards broke their ankles. They were out for most of the season, so we had to get, with 11 players, now you're down to 9, and if someone's out, it's tough to play full court pressure the whole game. I mean, that was our philosophy going into last season, and conditioning is so important. I mean, what would you say? You have girls playing 3 sports, which you want. You want them to be involved in sports because if they're in a lot better spirits when they go to school, they're feeling good about themselves. They do real good in school. They know they got a sport to go to, with a clear mind. You love to see that. But what do you do when someone's playing one sport and then right after that sport they're going into basketball? And conditioning is so important in basketball if you want to play that up-tempo game.
Well, I can tell you what my daughters did. Even during volleyball season, they would do extra running. Now, it wasn't always what I would have considered optimal running because you might train to run a 5K or 3 or 4 miles, but that's not basketball running. So other coaches, for example, in Lee Rose's book, Winning Basketball Fundamentals, he talks about he would, in the preseason, run the players in 3 groups, guards, forwards, and centers, and they'd have to do 200 meters in a certain time, let's say 42, 40 seconds, whatever. So the guards go, they do their 200 meters, then the forwards, then the centers. And then the process repeats itself until they do it 8 times. So you run a mile of sprinting with a 2-minute break in between. And if you can't do it, then you're going to have to do remedial running. So obviously you're going to have to condition in the off season. And if you want to be a serious basketball player, baseball, you don't have to be a great runner. They used to say about, Johnny Sane, the great left-handed pitcher, he said, if pitchers had to be great runners, why don't they scout track teams?
Right. Conditioning, again, is so important in sports like basketball, hockey, I would say even football, lacrosse, in any sport you play.
Well, when you go to the NFL, they have the preseason conditioning requirements that you have to do. I think,
right.
I can't remember they do.
Before you can.
I think they do them like a 100-yard run in X amount of time, then they have like 30 seconds, then they have to do it again, same thing. They have to keep doing it in a certain number of time, a certain number of these reps, and you don't have a choice. Now, granted, these are professionals, they're not high school kids or middle school players, and you can pretty much demand. You don't pass the conditioning test, you don't play.
No, I was doing the lacrosse match the other day we were playing Watertown. Now, Melrose has played some good lacrosse this year. They have 3 previous games. They were 1-1. They lost a tough game to Wilmington, the best game of the season. It was a great match. They go up against Watertown, a great team. They jump ahead of Watertown 4-2. The Melrose is playing good. And then Watertown just got it going. And what I noticed is the Watertown conditioning was unbelievable. They were just running by our double teams. And I was sitting with Jim Torp. He coaches the youngest 7th and 8th graders. He's a good coach, knows the game. And he's telling me all these little things that they're not doing well. But I said to Jim, I said, forget about all that. I said, just look out there. They're running by our double teams. We have a girl in the open field running the ball up the field. They're coming from 10 yards back. They're recovering, and they're catching up to the girl. I said, to me, it's all about quickness and conditioning. And Melrose is good, but the reason why Watertown's great is because of their conditioning. And then I found out from Paragirio, who was up there, he said, we were talking about how great Watertown's field hockey team program is.
Oh,
and
sure.
then that always used to be great and everything else is weak. So she goes, guess who's the coach of the lacrosse team? The coach of the field hockey team.
Probably all the same players.
I mean, she just knows how to coach, and she knows conditioning is huge. And that's the thing, like with these Melrose has a lot of talent, but one thing I would tell the girls, get in the greatest shape you can get into. You have to.
Well, the other thing is, I was reading some of Roy Williams' stuff from North Carolina, and he said, it's really about your team taking quality shots. He's there at practice at any time. I can stop practice and ask, not the shooter, I don't ask the shooter about the shot. I ask his teammates, is that the shot we want? And they say, they have to give you an honest answer. That's either yes or no. And it's the same way. And defensively, he says, our job is to get better quality shots than the other team because we have the talent. If we get better quality shots than they do, we're going to be successful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you talk about basketball, we see that in our teams. I mean, I don't care if someone misses 5 wide open shots. If they're open, you move the ball around, you're open, you take the shot. Again, I mean, if you're too far out and you're not hitting, then you try to get it in down low. I mean, there's other things you can do in basketball, any sport, but I've become a big fan of the lacrosse program, and they're getting better. And you look at it and you say, how are they going to get better? How are they really going to get better? They're working on their game. They know the game. To me, they've got to get quicker. And you can always get quicker, Ron. Anybody can get quicker in any sport. You may not get that much faster, but you can get a lot quicker.
Well, you need to have that great infrastructure for sports like lacrosse because certainly you're not going to just show up at high school and be able to play because there's too many, the stick skills are just too difficult to learn in a short time.
And what you see too with a sport like lacrosse, the girls are really getting into it. So they'll listen to the coaches. If the coach says, listen, we know we have to do our conditioning, we got to get out as a group together, get in the best shape possible because we have a lot of talent coming up. We have a lot of talent in this team. We want to be able to compete with the Watertowns next year and the Reddings. We have the talent. We got to do as much as we can. Well, what is too much? To me, as long as you make your commitment and you work in your game.
Well, it starts with the player. They have to make a decision. They have a lot of other things they can do aside from school. They have other activities, other extracurricular, could be language, could be drama, could be music, could be anything. And you have to say, what's most important to me? And then you have to ask yourself, how am I going to get better today? What are my strengths? How do I maintain them? What are my weaknesses? How can I diminish those? and what specifically are the drills or the athletic training that I have to do to overcome those things. And you need, I would call it performance-focused and feedback-rich coaching. So you need to have good structures, because it's one thing if I say, gee, you really should do this because you're not a good player. Well, what if the player said, well, I've hired a coach to observe me and help me, instruct me, and do these things? Well, it's the same outcome. For example, there's a surgeon in Boston named Atul Gawande who hired a retired surgeon to come watch him operate. Said, watch me, see what I'm doing. Am I too slow at some things, or am I not seeing things I should be seeing? I want you to just watch me operate half dozen times and then help me out and see how I can get better. And this was a guy who's already a staff surgeon in Boston. So it's the same thing. And as a coach, I remember as a player, my coach, Sonny Lane, brought in an older coach who would come in and comment about practice or what you're doing, and you might do it differently. Sometimes the different way was better, sometimes it wasn't, but it was good to have another opinion.
Yeah, you're looking to add something to your practices. You're looking, how we feel too. We added a lot of scrimmages as we went on because the girls were ready. There was so much talent there that you knew they were going to get better and better because they're going up against good players. But what I look at coaches like Chelly. They all want to play for him. They respect him. The program's successful.
Right. If you're the 12th player in the team, you're still a valuable member of the team.
Right, and they're going to do everything they can to make that team. Look at the football program with Coach Morris. They put their work in. They know if they don't work, they're not going to play. And especially in the last several years, that program's as good as any program. And it's like that. Lacrosse, you can see that coming around. That's coming up. And you hope we get that back with the girls' basketball.
Well, Bill Belichick was recently giving speeches on leadership. And one of the things he said, what's important is to have players who are in the game for the right reason. They're not there because they want attention or because they just want to pick up a paycheck. They're playing professional football because they love football. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's got to be. If you want to play a sport and be successful, you really have to love it to really do your best. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Labella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.